Thank you so much. Welcome, Haya, to Sweden, to Gothenburg. Traveling all that. It's not long, perhaps geographically, but it's a tedious journey to come from Ramallah, get out, and go to Europe. But you are here, and let me say first something. We will speak English, as you already know, because Aya speaks English, not Swedish. The reason I'm here, let's explain that. I was asked to sit on the jury for a project called Nouvelle Gaza, and it was an initiative to have young people in Gaza express themselves in writing, in short stories, and we got a quite large number of contributions, and the best of them are collected in this book, which you actually can buy over there. If you see people having shirts with Nouvelle Gaza on them, then there it is. And what we will talk about today is writing, young people writing in Gaza and the West Bank, in the occupied territories, and what it means. Haya Traza is not from Gaza. I have to say that we should have had Rana Murtaya from Gaza, a young woman from Gaza, participating in this book, but unlike Haya, she couldn't come. I could spend about 5 minutes explaining why young people from Gaza cannot get out from Gaza easily, or sometimes not at all. And that is part of the situation that we are going to talk about. Young people are locked in a space, in a situation that many people would deem hopeless, with very little future. And what role may writing play in a situation like this? Haya works, Atrata works with something called the Tamer Institute. How many have heard about the Tamer Institute? It's actually quite famous, small thing, because in 2009 it received the Alma Prize, the prize to the memory of Astrid Lindgren. It's a very prestigious prize, and it went justifiably, I think, to Tamer Institute, which has as its task to encourage and stimulate writing about young Palestinians. And it's doing a fantastic job. I visited them in Ramallah, not in Gaza. You are in Ramallah and working with them. Now, having said all this, yes, you came here as you work with the Tamer Institute, but you also are a writer yourself.
Yeah.
And you are quite young still, so you may still have a brilliant future as a writer. Tell us about how you started to write yourself.
Hi everyone. Actually, I started writing in the second Intifada. I was maybe 10 years old. And all children of my age at that time started expressing themselves, because it was really hard circumstances. There was bombing everywhere, firing from the Israeli side. So we were surrounded by all these circumstances, and we needed to express ourselves. So many of my age started writing or doing anything which could, heal them or could give them the opportunity to deal with what they are experiencing in everyday life.
And this is the second Intifada, which means about 15 years ago.
Yeah,
so you were quite young. You were very young.
Yes, actually.
So what did you? Were there many like you? I mean, was there How did it come that you started to write? Someone told you to write? Someone gave you a piece of paper? What happened?
Actually, and many times we were not able to go out from our houses because there were the Israeli in our neighborhoods. So I just found myself, going to my coloring pencils and holding them and painting sometimes, and then writing. I started writing when I've seen the picture of Muhammad al-Durra, who was with his father, and his father was helpless to protect him. The Israelis were firing against them.
This is the famous film,
Yeah,
which we see with the young,
Yes. So I think many children of my age started writing as a reaction of what they have seen, and it was really hard to deal with this thing.
What role, if we start talking with you personally first, what did it mean to you personally to find this way of dealing with the situation by writing, also painting apparently?
Yeah.
Can you explain the effect of being able to do that?
You know, it was really great because in many times we were also not able to reach our schools. We were lacked at our homes. So it was the only thing I can do is to use what is available in my room. So I started writing and trying to understand what is happening around me, trying to express myself through what I've been, seeing, and all these hard things that's happening. We were not able to go and play outside. It was the only thing we can stay in our rooms in a safer place, unable not to be killed or shooted. So it really helped me that I was writing because, it is something like healing. It's the kind of therapy because I'm expressing what inside me. It's not affecting me as bad as it's supposed. I'm expressing it and just breathing,
You create basically a safe space for yourself in your own writing.
Yes.
Many of the novels, or quite a few of them actually in this book, are about this.
Yes.
About creating
a
world of fantasy, let's say that.
Yeah.
There are various kinds of novels. Some kind that really want to describe, express what's happening.
Yeah.
And other kind of novels that are trying to create another world of fantasy in which you actually can breathe and move, while you actually cannot breathe and move in real life almost.
Mm-hmm. If I want to talk about as youth, our experience, or as young adults, we write, we want to have a normal life like everyone, but the reality is really different. We have all these hard circumstances or these political complex circumstances, so we cannot be as normal as we want. So by writing we can, create this safe zone. We can express ourselves, write about our dreams, our hopes, about our imagination, which is not possible to express in everyday life because we have, we are working, we are suffering a lot. So by writing, we can do all these things. We can really feel a little bit that we are relieved from all these hard things.
One can also argue, critically perhaps, that this is a kind of escape from reality. I'm sure you wouldn't agree, but in what way is the writing of young people connecting to the reality of the situation, and in what way does it influence your actions, the way you can actually go about daily life?
Yeah, I really disagree. It's not escaping.
No, but I know. But it's okay. You go ahead.
Okay. By writing, we are talking about our hopes, and let's be realistic. We can do whatever we want. That's not possible for us. So we are part of this community from this country which suffers a lot. So it's kind of responsibility on us as youth to talk about all these things. One of the texts from novel Gaza is talking about the experience of Palestinian prisoners. And Palestinian prisoners are about 10,000 prisoners in Israeli jails. And I know that Marwa, who wrote this text, she didn't been jailed, but she's talking about one of the critical issues in my community. And I would like to read some of her texts. She's talking about a prisoner who been in a hunger strike. And she says, "It was my 14th day at the ex-hangar, enduring various methods of torture by officers of Shabak at Ashkelon Investigation Center. I accidentally or intentionally knew that Graham had received direct orders from the head of Shabak to use any means, known or unknown, legal or illegal, in dealing with me, in order to get any piece of information." So, we are holding this responsibility. It's our role to talk about all these issues. And in Novel Gaza also, there's, another text which talks about the issues that faced in everyday life from our community. It's not only we are facing the Israelis, no, we are facing also our community, our issues, our traditions, and all these things. And maybe you noticed, since you've been from the jury committee, that some text talks about love, about these beautiful things, about hope. And this is what youth literature represents our life as it is.
How has it been received in the community, this kind of movement, let's put it that way, of writing and expressing yourself quite freely after all? You can see that these are free minds to a large extent, and not trying to accommodate any. How is that seen upon? What have the effect been in the local community, in the Palestinian community?
It depends on the mind of people who receive it. The majority were really accepting such things, because I think especially old people, they know how youth are thinking and what's their point of view. So there was really understanding of all these texts, and it was not criticized, but also we have many taboos that young people simply can't talk or write about it. But we have all these spaces, all these magazines that it's really open to any text, with no harsh at all. But still you can find people who criticize this thing and expecting from youth people to talk about certain things, only writing about occupation and political circumstances. But as youth, really, we are not only suffering from occupation, it's our major suffering, but we have another issues that we want to talk about, describe it, and express it as we think about it.
Palestinian literature has a tradition. There are some very beautiful Palestinian poets and writers.
Yeah.
So you have a tradition also to build on. How important is it to see yourselves in a tradition of Palestinian literature and writing?
Ibrahim Jabra, he always said that Palestinians are poets by nature, because if you went there, and I think, Mr. Jora, you went to Palestine, we have this lovely country, but it's really suffering. So I think everyone at some point started expressing themselves in this way. And we really have this huge heritage of literature, culture in Palestine. And many youth are implementing it in their writing. We have these famous and traditional folkloric stories that we are implementing in our text. And these songs and these beautiful poems of Mahmoud Darwish and many other poetry people, we are using it, implementing it, and it's like our model to be. Many youth are now writing with this style as Mahmoud Darwish, because it's really something iconic for us. This is Mahmoud Darwish or any other poetry.
I met him when he was living in Nazareth in the early 1970s. He was still living inside. and I interviewed him. And there was also another poet called Samih Al-Qassem. Do you know?
Samih Al-Qassem, yeah.
And there, of course. What role would you say could literature and poetry and writing play under the circumstances that we are seeing? The occupation never ending.
Yeah.
There is no light in the tunnel, as far as I can see. Can it sustain itself? Is it, or it would be? Will it succumb to the harsh reality of Palestinian living?
You know, I think the most important role of all these literature and all these texts that, you know, it's like our way to tell the world, or it's our message to the world that we are delivered by several ways, and one of them is writing, actually. We have this huge amount of texts, young people who are writing, meeting, doing discussions, and it is something important in our heritage that this text is documenting what young people are suffering. You know, if 10 years from now you want to know what was the circumstances and how youth dealt with it, you can go back and read all these texts and you will understand by yourself what is the reality.
I want to know what is the relationship between writing, literature, and resistance, because there is this clearly a need to resist what is happening, with whatever means you have. How do you see that relationship?
I think it's through writing, it's kind of resistance. You know, I think. You know, we young people who we write, this is our way to resist the occupation that we are suffering from. You know, sorry, by many texts we write, we encourage this feeling inside us that we want to resist this occupation, and it's our way to express it. Maybe a photographer can resist with their photos, and we have also many photographers. Anyone can resist with her or his own way.
Tamer Institute, I think, has a campaign, a reading campaign going on, reaching out to young Palestinians.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
You know, we have this amazing reading campaign which has been since maybe 26 years, and now the reading week became a national reading week in Palestine. So the first week of April we have this many activities, many storytellings all around Palestine, and all the schools are part of this campaign. So we are reaching many children who are probably in their future will be authors, writers. So we are encouraging them to discover themselves, to know what's their abilities and what's possible for them to do.
It will be very interesting to see if and who of all these writers will actually emerge out of this early attempt to write and become one of the large Palestinian writers. We know that people in a situation like the Palestinians under oppression, under stress, normally produces literature. This is, and I really, I'm looking forward to, and I hope this project somehow can go on and develop, and that will be kind of a link between your world and the world outside, which I think is very important to you. And to us as well.
Novel Gaza project, we have the second edition of it, and it's really being developed by the founders. They are thinking now it's not only about text, it will contain photos and paints and also videos. So it's really been working on this project really to give it as possible to be better and much better. Yeah.
I hope next time we will have Rana coming or someone else coming from Gaza. So. We really hope that will change. It will be easier to travel. Let's hope for that. Yes. Thank you so much for coming here, and a safe trip back. We'll talk tomorrow. If you want to hear us once more, we'll be at CMN at 10:30 tomorrow as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
all.
Thank you, everyone.